delay, but we are very happy to have Adriana Cuervo with us today. She will be presenting about becoming a certified archivist and talk a little about what she does, her process, her experiences. So without further delay.
No more delays. Yay! So I should stand here, right? So the online, hello,
yes.
Online folks, thank you for signing on this afternoon, and thank you all for being here. My name is Adriana Cuervo. I'm the Associate Director of the Institute of Jazz Studies at Rutgers University, Newark. We are in the Dana Library up in Newark, and I've been there for 4 years. I became certified, oh my God, 10 years ago in 2008. Seems like it was yesterday. And I have been really happy with that decision and having taken that path as my continuing education for my career as a professional archivist. Prior to coming here to Rutgers, I was at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, where I worked with the Sousa Archives and Center for American Music. I worked there for 8 years, and then I moved here to New Jersey, which is wonderful. I love New Jersey so much. The governor should pay me for all the free advertising I do about the wonderful Garden State. So certified archivist, and my clicker is on its way. Maybe if I click here, I can just get started. Yeah, it's okay. So as you can see, the ACA mission, and I'm not going to read the slides to you. You can read them at your own pace. But if you can recall a little bit, just taking a poll, and I'm sorry for the online folks here people who are here who wants to pursue a career as an archivist. It's okay if you don't want to. That's fine. That's awesome. And it's great that you are in a library school and in a master's program that is giving you the tools that you need and teaching you the skills that you're going to need in the professional world. But being an archivist is one of those things that you don't quite, the professionalization and the standardization of a curriculum for archivists is not quite there yet. It's getting there, but it's not quite a standard educational process, for example, like becoming a lawyer or becoming a doctor. So many people find themselves in an archival role within their organizations without even having asked for it. Sometimes people just end up being, oh yeah, well, Susie has been here 25 years. She knows the company in and out. And all of a sudden, Susie's in charge of the archives, and that's fine. Let's change this as I keep talking. We have a clicker.
Yeah, so if you just, sorry, this is the last you'll see of me.
No, you can stay if you want.
I don't know what number slide this is for you.
We're good.
So
the third.
That
okay.
was, yeah.
Okay, got it.
And there's a laser on the top.
Okay. Oh, we got action. So, even the archival profession itself has had a little bit of a different ways to become an archivist. And even today, there's still many ways for you to pursue employment as an archivist. Given the fact that archivist comes from both the history background, as you can see, there are also many masters in history programs which have an archival track kind of built into them too, and that's another approach to becoming an archivist. Some people also pursue, and I don't know, they have not had this program for a good 5 to 7 years, but there was the Modern Archives Institute, which was like archival boot camp. You go for 2 weeks and kind of get the archival framework in basics, so you can then go out and work at an archives and kind of like keep building on your resume as you took workshops and other continuing education programs offered through regional organizations or the Society of American Archivists. So it's been kind of a mixed bag for many years, and the Academy seeks to really kind of bring all of these different ways of becoming an archivist to a centralized and standardized place where companies and organizations and universities, colleges, universities can kind of have like if this person is a certified archivist, then they have this basic level of understanding and mastery of different archival domains, which is what the Academy calls the different areas of expertise that archivists are expected to have. to a certain level. Okay, this is forward. So the academy, for you to become a certified archivist, you just have to take an exam and you're done. So it's like, yay, it's not that hard, but it is really hard. But don't let that discourage you. And when I took the exam in 2008, I had just graduated. I graduated from library school in 2005. And things were still fresh on my mind. And one of the reasons why I went ahead and took the exam was because I was worried that if I kind of kept working and kind of focusing on my own thing, there were pieces of my education that would kind of fade. You know, who remembers, ninth grade algebra today? Nobody. But there are things that you learn and things that knowledge that you acquire through your graduate career that it's fresh in your mind for a couple of years, but then fast forward 5, 7, 10 years, and then you're like, yeah, I think I read about that, standardization of metadata, but I'm not, yes, if you needed it, you would just know where to go look for it, but it's not quite as fresh and pliable in your mind. So that's the reason why I said, might as well go ahead and do it while things are still at the top of my head.
Excuse me. Hello?
Oh, this one. Okay.
Oh, are you an online participant? Do you have a question?
Yeah, we don't see the changing of the slides.
Do you see any movement?
We just see the academy. I can see you,
Me.
but the slides aren't, yes, but I can't see the slides changing. It's just the opening page, the Academy of Certified Archivists.
Maybe.
Sorry.
No. We want you to be
Oh, okay.
seeing everything like everyone else.
Here it is.
Okay.
It's on number 6 now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. How do we unchair that? Okay.
If you want to leave it there, I mean, that's fine too. It's easier for the folks online.
I don't know how she changed that
I'm fine with it.
on the screen.
I want to make sure that the distance
Yeah.
folks have.
Online people, can you see the current slide?
It's benefits of certification.
Now, if we
That's
go
good.
back,
That's what we see. That's still benefits of certification.
do you see?
Now it's history, ACA history,
Okay, and you can still.
and now benefits. Yeah.
Okay,
We're in business.
you can still see Adriana also.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi,
Okay.
Adriana. Thank you.
No worries. Happy you brought it up. Let's see. No. No, I'm going. Sorry, it's the clicker. It's messing with me. Like, benefits of so certified archivists have been employed in a vast landscape of archival work within NASA, within city and government archives, as well as academic institutions and corporate archives. So you'll see that kind of applicability of the certification. One of the interesting parts about being certified is, especially within corporate the corporate world, where the recruitment and employment process is so kind of compartmentalized that your CV needs to go through a recruiter's eyes, and then they transfer those candidates to an HR department's eyes. Maybe in that HR department, they don't really quite know what an archivist does or what are the qualifications of someone who is prepared to take on the responsibilities of the job. So having that certification is one way in the industry, in the corporate world, to have that kind of like, okay, this person is qualified to do this work. There's that level. So it speaks to people who not necessarily will be well versed the ins and outs of archival work, but they somehow need to work with someone in that role. So that's another reason why, if you're not sure, you're still thinking about your options, careers in corporate archives are pretty awesome and very interesting. You get to see the world of archives through a different lens. So that's another way to just kind of have that check on your CV for people who not necessarily understand, it's just outside of academia, that they kind of like, what are they talking about? And as you can see, people are employed in different types of institutions, government and academic being the majority, which is kind of the same, it translates to the same type of demographics for the entire archival population in the United States. If you look at the numbers that SAA, the Society of American Archivists, is rolling out, it is heavily skewed towards academic and government employees, and that is just how the field is looking like these days. So there's 3 ways to qualify, and based on my experience, one thing that I remember is that I did not have, when I finished, I had a master's degree and I submitted my application. Application is not that they're going to say like, oh no, you can't take it. You submit your paperwork for the exam, the request for the exam. And even though you probably, if you don't have all the experience that they need, you can still take the exam and be, kind of advance that qualification until like your work experience catches up with the requirements. For example, they do have as I was discussing before, the different ways to become an archivist. If you are in a Master of Information Science degree with an archival concentration, you will have that background that you can apply towards the exam, or if you're in a history program that's not necessarily an archival degree, but with some sort of other type of archival training, then that's another way you can be qualified, quote unquote, qualified for the exam. And then the work, that you do, they do require evidence of work that you have performed in an archival nature, mostly arrangement and description, creating finding aids, doing reference, and that type of like frontline archival work that you will have to kind of sense at the time that you apply to how to couch that. And as in the slide says, you qualify, for you said, like, what about an internship? What about I did a field work study, or the internship or independent? How do you call do you do?
Field experience.
If that's the word I was looking for. How about field experience? If you work under the supervision of a university archivist here at Rutgers and you process the papers of a retired chemistry professor, that's another type of work that accounts. So it's basically to make sure that you are, whatever work you do, it is of an archival nature. And then, like I said before, if you are not quite there with either the schooling or the experience or any other aspect of the application process, you can still take the exam and you will be qualified kind of quote unquote provisionally until you kind of finish taking those classes or finish the field experience and have all the time that they ask for in order for you to be fully certified. And then we'll have, you don't have to pay academy dues until that, until your experience and or training catches up with you. And it's just the, way of, like I said before, when I did it, it was, just so I things are still in my mind and I still recall and have all, have the knowledge in there. Today, you ask me to take the exam again, I'd be like, I don't know about that. Which brings me to, let's put a pin on that. So I was talking about domains, and these are the domains that, of the delineation statement of the 7 domains that archivists should master with a basic level of understanding of things archivists do. We're looking at selection, appraisal and acquisition, arrangement and description, reference and services, preservation, outreach, advocacy and promotion, management, and professional, ethical, and legal responsibilities. So it is really interesting because they're not only just telling you these are the things you should know, there is a very comprehensive bibliography that the Academy provides prospective applicants. Let's say someone who doesn't come from a library program that has an archival concentration. Let's just go back to our friend, was it Susie that we called her? Susie, who's worked in the company for 30 years and now finds herself within the archive, in charge of the archives, and she really needs to learn, she could potentially avail herself of workshops by the Society of American Archivists or local organizations like the New York Archives Roundtable or other folks that routinely program archival training, and kind of like bring herself up to speed in that regard over time, with a significant investment of time. But it is possible. So each domain, as you say, it's divided into, it kind of break you like the archival areas of expertise into more specific points. And then we'll take a look at that in a bit, but then you take an exam, and the exams change every year. Like every year they deploy the exam and a number of people take them. And then they, not only they check the exam and give you a score, but they also look at how many people passed, how many people failed, what questions, they do a complete analysis of the exam taking itself, and then based on that they tweak and adjust questions in areas of expertise based on the most recent crop of exam takers. So for next year, it makes sure that it keeps up with the different generations of people coming into the profession. I don't know if I made myself clear on that. But basically they rethink, every year they take the opportunity to update and keep the exam as coherent as possible based on people responses to questions, on how different questions were answered. Like if everyone is failing question 15, maybe it's not because people don't know that answer. Maybe the question was not the right one to be asked. So those are things that they look at and change every year. And they hire people who, professionals in I don't know what field of study is with that to I don't know if it's statistics but they do have someone who knows how to go about these things, and a group of certified archivists to work together to develop the exam for next year. So going back to the domain and the tasks, and that'll come up in a little bit. So let's say, ignore that slide on the far because that's where the questions are. But, domain for preservation and protection, task 3, ensure the correct term storage of records and papers by such techniques as using proper containers and encasements, acceptable shielding, and maintaining acceptable environmental controls. Archivists know and can apply knowledge about the process and consequences of the deterioration of various media formats. So then they ask the question, what are the recommended storage conditions for the permanent preservation of color film? Don't look at that one. Let's just pretend that these are the types of questions that you're asked. Either specific as, like ideal temperature and humidity conditions for specific materials, to items pertaining to replevin, for example, which is the return of government records when they fall out of government control. So there are things that sometimes seem like, okay, I don't really absolutely need to know these things. But you need to know that these things matter, and at the end of the day, if you are presented with a box of film, a box of photographs and paper, you need to know that not everything goes in the same environment, or at least know that temperature and humidity will affect the film in a different way than the paper. So 26 Fahrenheit and 30 and 40% humidity, which is kind of like what outside feels like. But, and it's based on archival literature. They're not pulling these numbers and standards out of thin air. It is based on the body of literature that we've developed as a profession for the care and stewardship of our collections. Let me get my water. Any questions so far? Concerns, ideas, thoughts? Okay. So, as I said before, it's pretty much you fill out a form and send it, submit the evidence that you are either training, you're going through a graduate program, you have the experience either in an employment capacity or you have had field experience through your program and have worked on X, Y, and Z. And then a letter from whoever is supervising you that can vouch that yes, this is, he or she has been doing wonderful work with the retired chemistry professor's personal papers and has done arrangement, description, preservation, rehousing, and doing some digitization of key findings of, very well-renowned publication of the professor. That kind of letter is what they're looking for. And, there's always fees, so take advantage of the early fee as usual. That's something that I appreciate from our profession. There's always an early bird and you will save a little money here and there. And if you can apply to take a travel award, the exam is usually delivered in conjunction with the Society of American Archivists annual meeting. However, there are the academy can also make arrangements for people to take it in a place that's closer to where they live. If enough, I think it was 5, let's see, what is it? The picture side, at least 5 applicants, or at least 3 during the early bird period. So you and 2 other friends, if you want to take it here in New Brunswick for whatever reason, make sure you talk to your colleagues and find enough interested people so you don't have to, well, this year SAA is in DC, not too terrible, but sometimes SAA is in San Diego. So kind of keep an eye on where the meeting's going to be, and they will do it. The exam will take place at the same day around the country. And what they will do is they will find proctors for the exam, usually other certified members in the area if possible, and make sure that everyone gets a chance to take the exam. That travel is not what's keeping you from taking the exam. And as you can see, Atlanta, Baton Rouge, Chicago, Dallas, and New York, and St. Louis, I've already made pick your site locations. If you're thinking about it, there's some New York, not that terrible of a commute. So this is the handbook for certification is where you find the bibliography and the breakdown of all the archival domains of knowledge and what they suggest you kind of at least have read and are familiar with. It is a lot. It's a very, very long list, and it's not something that you prepare 2 weeks in advance. It's like something you're kind of working towards and building. And if you are, you are very fortunate to be in a graduate program with an archival track that should cover at least arrangement and description, acquisitions and appraisal. Those at least 3 or 4 basic areas that then you can supplement in the other, in the I think outreach, if I remember correctly. One for outreach and one for I'll remember. But anyhow, or if you have been given taking classes on all of these subjects, then what are you waiting for? Well, again, they can't guarantee. It's just the work you put into it is what you're gonna get out, basically. And if you fail, which it is, people fail. Not everyone thrives in an exam environment. Some people are better at speaking or at paper writing. You can take the exam again the next year, no fees or anything. You just wait again and take it next year, which is, at least what I say when I took it, between us and the people offsite, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna pass. I mean, it is difficult. And I said, you know what, I did my best. And if I don't pass, at least I'll know what they're asking, how they're asking. It'll give me kind of a better sense of what is expected of the exam taking part. I did pass, so yay on that. But it's, it's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. You'll just have better tools to take it again next year, and not everyone passes. So no worries on that front. And then the results, you get a letter in the mail, and then you go like, yee! Because you passed the exam and you never have to take it again. The pass point from year to year depends, like I said before, it's this whole very complex and intense way of grading and looking at the questions. And I think it also involves, like I said before, if everyone failed question 15, that question's not going to count towards your score. So that's why it takes so long. And I think when I took it, it was like a passing score of 76, and I think about 78 or something. So it's not like I aced it, 99. But it's a curve, and a lot of factors are built into deciding the final score, people's final scores. From the midterms to, if 2 out of 10 or 3 out of 10 people don't pass. So it's not like, like only a few select. There's, for various reasons, people sometimes don't take it seriously. People sometimes go out partying the night before, and I'll be fine, and there you go. Or sometimes, like I said before, not everyone is comfortable sitting down and taking an exam. So that's unfortunate, because I do think, you are kind of cutting out, that's the only way to get certified the first time around. What if you have some sort of anxiety and you really can't thrive in that type of environment? But food for thought. Application fee, we went over that. The certification fee, you pay within notification of passing. If you are conditional, you'll have to pay that. And then your annual dues, $50, July 1st of every year. Now, recertification, which I've also done. If you want to recertify, you can take the exam again, or you can keep track of all the work you've been doing in between producing finding aids, giving conference talks, publishing articles, taking workshops and seminars offered by either regional or local archival organizations to the Society of American Archivists. And, it's a really, they do account this, for the non-inclusiveness of the exam taking part. This, I think it is very inclusive, because if you write for a newsletter for the Mid-Atlantic Regional Archives Conference, they assign, it's a point system. So you get like 2 points for a newsletter article, 15 points for a peer-reviewed article. I'm making these up. I don't remember exactly the points, but you can put together, then you took a workshop, that's 5 more points, and then you took a class, a graduate class on American history for XYZ, that also gets points. So towards the end, you have to have a minimum of 50 points between all of the different things you've done, including serving on committees of professional organizations, like as I said before, writing and publishing, presenting at conferences, presenting workshops, taking workshops, So at least there is that flexibility. You don't have to absolutely be, no, you have to publish or you will not get certified. So there's many different ways to retain that certification. And it is kind of nice, because at the end of the day, it encourages you to kind of keep up with developments in the field, kind of like keep your skill set polished and sharp, and because things change super quickly. So you want to make sure you're, at the best of your ability in the professional environment. And the Academy of Certified Archivists is available to you on Facebook, on their website, on Twitter, and on LinkedIn, which I don't use that much, but there they are. And the folks at the Academy, I was invited through the Academy, someone reached out to the New Jersey members, saying who can go to the library school and at Rutgers and speak to the Sky students. I kind of live right there, so I'm happy to do it. I'm always happy to do it. So that's, they are interested in presenting these types of programs and making them available to you as you consider your training and your career options as you move through the program. So in the website, you'll find the application, the handbook, locations, all information that you need to know. Ways to get involved. I am not as involved in the Academy of Certified Archivists, and it's something that I would like to explore a little bit more. You do learn a lot about your profession and meet people who have the most fascinating jobs. So it's an idea. They meet in conjunction with the Society of American Archivists. I think they have half-day programs. But their work is mostly geared towards the certification and the maintenance of that certification for the people that have taken the exam. So, questions, concerns, ideas, thoughts, anything. I'm happy to entertain any questions you may have. Yes?
Do you know the organizational relationship between the ACA and the SAA?
They're separate, friendly, cognizant of each other's existence. collaborative to a certain extent. And I think, I don't know, there has been this long-term professional debate, which is interesting, because if you're in a library program in an high school and you see librarian jobs out there and they say the ALA certified, no, the American Library Association approved, or what's
The ALA
accredited,
They're going
yeah,
through that.
there's the ALA accredits library programs, and that's a standard for the education of librarians. As I mentioned before, for the education of archivists, that is really hard to do because you have people in library school, people in master's programs, people who have just built the skill set. You know, they come from, like, for example, the people I work with at the Institute of Jazz Studies, they come from a jazz studies background. They're jazz scholars and researchers and are, you know, there for jazz, who have just like built on that knowledge with archival skills, and that's what they are working on. That's how they are, how they ended up where they are right now. So having, you know, telling people who are in master's programs in history, masters of history programs, saying, no, that's not good enough. You know, it's not fair to draw those lines as much as the ALA has drawn those lines. So I don't know why I went into this tangent, but ALA, and so sometimes there are discussions about, you know, how can we help professionalize, or how can we help kind of validate all of these ways of becoming an archivist. And, you know, the Academy has come with this solution. It's not everyone's cup of tea. And, you know, like I said before, sometimes it means nothing to people, and sometimes it's like, actually, you'll see in job applications, for example, there are sometimes, instead of, well, they'll have a master's degree in library information science or history or applied field and a certified archivist, or ability to certify within, you know, for year of employment or things like that. So those are qualifications that are currently out there in job postings. So, and I don't think they two will merge, but you never know. Yes.
Do you know if like your colleagues are all certified archivists? What's the sort of?
None of my colleagues are. And at my other job, one colleague, there's another certification, it's a certified records manager thing that is also, that one's super hard. That's like how you have to, there's 4 exams, and it is, but she ended up being the university, overseeing the records management operation of the entire university. So that's not, but none of my colleagues at the other place. It's a personal, it's not required in both places that I've been employed. But there's other, you know, like I said before, it kind of depends on the workplace.
So personally, you decided to do it for what reason?
Because it couldn't hurt. Like, I'd say, like, what if I want to change jobs one day and then they want me to certify? What if I change jobs in like 8 years and I forgot what I learned in the library? I think that was my biggest fear at the time. It's like, I'm going to forget all these things. So that's how I said, like, I might as well do it now while the stars are aligned, and why not? You know, and then it'll be easier to maintain that certification because you never know.
As you said, it opens doors.
Yeah, you never know. What if I want to go into corporate archives and things like that? Then I think that having that kind of in the back pocket right now, I mean, I think you're at Rutgers, it's like, oh, well, that's great, congratulations, but not quite the defining, you know, skill or you know, line in your CV. But if I were to move into, like, I don't know, be the archivist of Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts, and then that would be something that would be appreciated, or like a requirement for the employee. Online, any questions?
We have an online question. What is the benefit of a provisional certification? I wouldn't qualify as or be able to claim I am a certified archivist with one, right?
You could say your provisional, like I'm envisioning this in a CV line saying provisionally certified archivist 2018, expecting full certification in 2019 or something like that. Because, you know, provisional is when you pass the exam, but you're still missing that one class or that like one more year of experience to be like quote unquote on the up and up. So no, you've done all the big part of the work. So I would not shy away from just stating it and specifying, you know, it'll be fully certified in a year and a half, or whatever the case may be.
We have another online question. What is your job like day to day? Please describe what you do and maybe your favorite part, and maybe was that part on the test when you took it?
Oh my goodness.
I added the last part.
So I oversee the archives at the Institute of Jazz Studies. We are a special collections library research center for jazz. And we have a library side, which we buy books and sound recordings and they're cataloged. And it's a non-circulating collection. So people come in and listen to CDs and discs and 78s and LPs, and then they read our books and make copies and do that. And they also come in to look at our archival collections. And I came in 4 years ago, and like I mentioned before, I don't think I was very specific in that front, but my colleagues came to the job from a jazz background, a jazz studies background. So it was more about getting new things and getting the next collection, and then the oohing and the eyeing to like, oh, this is Louis Armstrong's autobiography. Ooh, this is Lester Young's saxophone, and the kind of like the pedestal building of certain items and certain people. But then at the end of the day, we had very, very little finding aids. We had no intellectual or physical control of the collection. So over the past 4 years, my colleagues and I have been diligently working, and it was not until I want to say mid-January we had like a final definite list. We went through all of our holdings, box by box. What's this? What's this? Okay, and compiling all that data, and we now finally know exactly what collections we have. What name, what collections came from people's papers, what collections were quote unquote artificial. There's a lot of, in the jazz world, there's a lot of collectors. People collect memorabilia, records, photographs, and a lot of those artificially built collections, we call them the fan type collections, ended up in as part of our holding. So it is, so sometimes they call them, I don't know, there's one example, what's his name? He's known for being like super mean to other musicians. He beats them on the playground. No. It's a Billy. I'm going to make up a name. I'm sorry. I blanked out. Let's just call it the John Doe collection. And they call it the John Doe collection. And that to me says that John Doe has his papers and he gives them to the Institute. But no, it was John Doe's fan who gathered all the records and memorabilia and stickers and magazine articles and gave that collection. But how are you going to know? So like it was part of our job was to like differentiate what is a truly organic body of material that comes out of the work of someone, and what is just someone's fan appreciation, love for the music that has driven them to build this thing, but is not quite the same as the other thing. So those were the big ticket items that we've been working on over the past 2 years, I want to say. So I've spent a lot of time doing that. Also reference, although I do not have a jazz background, so it's really we get questions like, I would like a photo of Fats Waller eating some turkey, and I'm like, okay, we may have it, it may exist, but it's like people have these ideas about what's out there in the documentary world and what's not. I'm like, well, I do have him, whether, raising a glass of wine, would that work? Because no, we really need turkey, because we heard you really like turkey legs or something. I don't know, maybe this up. So like these kinds of things. So like it really requires a deep knowledge of jazz and the repertoire and the people who have contributed in our collections as well. So like that's something that it's just, for me, is so much, because but I have colleagues who would say like, oh no, yeah, there's only a picture of Fats drinking wine, but no, he never liked to be photographed while eating because he thought it wasn't flattering. So like, that like deep level of specificity that, so that's another part of my job. I do that, and I also do marketing and promotion of our events. So I have things on Facebook, although I don't know where to put them now because, the government probably knows the ins and outs of our collections now, or the Russians, for that matter. and promote our events and our talks. We have a lot of concerts, and we have these events called, it's like colloquia type of, that we call jazz roundtables. People come in and present on different topics. It doesn't have to be super scholarly or super hoity-toity. You know, you have an expertise in an area of interest and have been actively pursuing it, we're happy to provide a forum for you to share. So we do that. I do that kind of advertising. And what else do I do? Hang out with my colleagues. They do talk a lot. Jazz people are fabulous in the sense that they will show you things and no, but you have to listen to this drum solo. Oh my, it's gonna change your life. And I'm like, okay, well, my life will be changed. So that's really a cool part of my job. I also go to meetings, but that's not fascinating enough. And what parts have I used? Preservation and conservation. You really need to know what can you put where and what's a better deal. You know, for another thing, for whatever reason, I think that, and that's the other thing I've learned, to have a little bit of compassion towards those who came before me. At some point, someone got this gigantic shipment of like polyester transparent bags, and they stuffed, you know, paper, like they would get like all these like manuscripts, like they would get a tune and the full score on the parts for the tune. They would stick it in the bag and stick the bag in the box and fill the box with bags with other titles. And I'm like, that's terrible. You know, you don't want paper to be enclosed in like breathing its own decaying. You know, that's only going to accelerate the breaking down of the individual molecules and, you know, what makes paper paper. So it's an organic material. Don't put it, you know, don't kill it so fast. So it's, you know, part of also our big box by box survey is to like try to like reverse these type, you know, maybe I can picture them in like 1982 going, oh yeah, this is going to be, you know, this is how we're going to make sure that these things last forever, but not. So one thing that I do have to make sure I can at least know how to handle is the different types of materials that we have. Photographs have different needs than film and video, different sound recordings, the formats, and even within formats, the reel-to-reel tapes, there are certain batches or certain brands that have decayed in a ridiculously fast amount of time compared to other contemporary brands. So it's like knowing like, oh my goodness, like I don't know, I am blanking on, names are not good with me today, but there are certain, you know, like, so knowing which formats need what. And in the case, for example, when collections come in and something smells of mold or kind of like looks like mold, know not to just like dump everything in with the rest of the collection, but to segregate it and quarantine it and find ways to treat it. And also when you are negotiating, we don't have that expertise in-house, so we have to send things out for treatment. So also knowing what to ask for it with the vendors. Like I just need a freezing and a cleaning, or when they try to, you know, everyone tries to make money, you know, everyone wants to have their business. And so sometimes they're gonna try to like we'll clean it and we'll vacuum it and we'll run it through the sprouts and we can digitize it for you. It's like, no, I just need you to freeze it and vacuum it. That's it. That's all I need. That's all I want. You know, don't just know when you are being taken for a ride and that's, you know, it is what it is. So that's if I were going to say one thing that I have to use consistently is that conservation, preservation type of, at least know what's what and what's standard and what's just nuts. Yes.
I remember you saying earlier you worked for several years at UIUC.
Yes.
Music archive.
Yes.
Were you interested in music archives when you were in library school? Or
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I wanted to be a music reference librarian, and that was not a good idea. And at the time, I ended up working at the archives because they posted the job at the University of Illinois. They rely a lot on graduate students for a lot of the frontline collections work, be it at the library or at the archives or technical services. And I saw a job posting in the library school internal, whatever that Blackboard thing was back in the day. And like, oh, we need someone to work at the archives who can read music. And I'm a music major. I have bachelor's in music. So like, I can read music. I played piano for like 14 years. Sure, I can do that. So that's how I started working in archives, and it was really like, I'm glad the whole reference thing didn't work out because it's really fascinating. You know, you get to know all these people through their belongings, which is kind of creepy, kind of stalkery to a certain extent. But you know, we had seeing photographs and film and all of their belongings go through your hands, and you kind of get to know them somehow, and that was very, very rewarding to me. So that's how I ended up working in the music archives. Questions, concerns, ideas? Online folks? Yes.
You mentioned a little bit earlier how you were reluctant to take up digitization services when you were getting particular materials clean. In the ACA or in your personal experience, is there a lot of emphasis on digital archiving?
Yes, everyone wants everything. It's like, right? Oh, it's not online. You may have to come in like that. So that it would be ideal, and it would solve a lot of issues from the preservation side, from the handling, and the ability to like zoom in into things and like compare A and B together. To the just some things are just too cool to keep to ourselves. So it's something that we are not, and that's something that makes me a little bit sad. But I think we have, like I mentioned before, with the whole intellectual and physical control part of our work. Once that's in a better place, I think we can start shifting our priorities to seeing what can we digitize, because it is. It's what's going to be. That's what's going to be able your materials to reach a broader audience, and that's how you can get really interesting, especially with digital humanities work and all of these forensics type of they've made many interesting discoveries with digitized materials, or not only the materials, but for example, one of our big digital projects that's been spearheaded by our digital humanities librarian. We have a collection of oral histories that was funded by the National Endowment for the Arts in the late 70s, and there was an entire generation of jazz musicians that were in their 80s, 90s. They were in very poor health, and they were concerned that this entire generation of jazz musicians was just going to disappear, and no one was going to be able to learn from their careers and their stories. So they went out and interviewed them and recorded them, and so the Institute managed that project back in the 80s. So what we do now, we had the audio tapes digitized, and the transcripts were also digitized, so now we have them online. You can read the transcript in here as you can read. So what would be really cool is to imagine if you OCR all those transcripts, and you have all that text there, and how you can start to correlate and link things that normally you couldn't. Those kinds of things are just right for the picking. If you ask me, the project began before I came to work here, so I don't know whose idea was to not OCR the transcript, but that I think was a big mistake, because we're missing out. Imagine all the connections that can, and there's this big project with linked data, jazz, I forget that, jazz, linked data, linked jazz, I think it's called, and that's exactly what they're trying to do, looking at correspondence and other autobiographical information from jazz musicians to see who's naming what, because jazz is a profession that has been built on those kinds of relationships. You go and play with such and such, you record with such and such, and you bounce from group to group to group, and it's everyone. But that's something that we can't map just like that. We need the help of digital tools and ways to connect separate collections and kind of silos of information to be able to get a broader picture of how jazz developed. So one day, and also it's expensive.
How expensive?
Oh, millions of stuff. I hate the New York Philharmonic. They have an archives, and I shouldn't say that. We have, sorry, off the record. I don't hate them. It's just that we went to see their operation, and they were like, love them for what they're doing. I'm jealous. And they were like, oh, we were given this hoity-toity pants foundation, gave them $5 million. Let's just digitize everything. And I was like, So they're just like, no, we are, we have all these scores with all these super famous conductors and composers, like their hand notes and like all of this, how all the orchestra's history over the past 100 years or so, and they're digitizing everything. And I'm like, ooh, where did you get the money? Can you give me? I'll just settle for half, I don't need the whole 5 million. I can do plenty with 2.5. So that I don't need them. I'm just jealous that they have that kind of fundraising arm and support to do. And I asked them, so what about copyright? What about? They're like, well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. They set things up with takedown notices. That's how they're looking to get past that hurdle and or working with the owners of the intellectual property to make sure that they're prioritizing access over anything else. And I'm like, so that's the kind of money that that's the price tag for that kind of work. I'm hopeful, we'll get there. A lot of people love jazz, and a lot of people with a lot of money that they don't know where to put. They love, these are kinds of projects that people they feel good. They're like, yeah, I funded the digitization of Ella Fitzgerald. That's nifty. So I'm hopeful for the future.
We have an online question. I'm
Yes.
going to unmute you, Marianne. Maybe. Can you unmute yourself?
I didn't have a question.
Oh, you have your hand raised. Okay.
Oh, that was from before.
It just showed up now.
Sorry.
Okay, we're going to mute you again. Are there any other questions?
Yes.
I guess it's more of like I think it's like a combination of the comment question. One of the things that I was kind of interested in where archivists, so where you'll see archivists in the workplace, with in terms of academia and things like that, not customized on this where the majority of archivists are, but I was also surprised. I forget what the exact number was. 8% of archivists are corporate setting. That's something that was interesting. And one of the things one of the challenges I kind of had to deal with going through undergrad and going through most of one of the programs is how to explain to some of my colleagues in the program or not familiar with the industry. Is a lot of them are like archivists. You guys are archaeology.
Even like people who work in the same building as we do, like we really have a PR call, like seriously, because the profession has that thing where, it breaks my heart every time they use like, well, we went down to the dusty and dark archives search, and I was like, no, why? They're not dusty, they're not dark, but they're perpetuating that notion that it's like, oh, we're like, ooh, it was the archives of this, the researchers found it in the archives. How'd you think they got to it in the first place? There was an archivist who said, this document may be of importance, there's a lot of preliminary work into before you would just waltz ahead and like finding that piece of paper. So I think it's I totally understand where you're coming from, because it is hard to even like tell people within the library world, what exactly that you do and why it's important. And I think we need as a profession the same kind of like the read posters when ALA puts out all the celebrities read, and you have like Thor with a book, his Hamlet, read. We need that for archives.
Yeah. Well, some professionals in the field perpetuate that myth. I worked at the Museum of the City of New York, and the president or director of the museum used to say in speeches, he would say, "We do above ground archaeology all the time," and he would expect that to get a little chuckle. And it was just misleading. So
maybe one day we'll get our read posters with the archives. But yeah, or the whole treasure trove, it's like, oh, please erase that term from the English vocabulary. It's not like happens. It's like, I don't know what people think that archivists do, just like sit, in a basement where it's dark and dusty and they're like lame, old and boring, and they just sit there waiting for the real scholars to like really do the important work. And I'm like, no, it's way more dynamic than that and has way more relevance. And it affects everyone, but people just don't know it, and I think that's one of the PR problems.
Also, your personal experience with technology and advancing more rapidly honestly each day. Have you ever come across instances where you have like either detailed lines or you have to kind of have your own set of IT set of skills?
Yes, I don't have them, and I wish I had them, because it is a lot of media that's been debunked. It's coming in, and we're like, the 5-inch floppy. Okay, yeah, you get that thing that you connect, and you do, but then what do you do when, how do you manage that type of information and make sure that's intact for whatever's next? So that's definitely something. And, if the ICA were to really kind of make inroads into the digital archives realm, that would be really helpful for future professionals, because it is the reality. And if you don't get those skills, or at least are not conversant enough, I mean, not everyone needs to be an expert, but at least you have to be able to tell your IT person what you need, what you want, how you want it done, and what's, the end product you expect from the system that you're trying to set up or the work that you're trying to oversee.
We have an online question related to before. How do potential employers view provisional certification on CVs or resumes?
I don't know the answer to that question, but if they say certified, I mean, at least you have it. It's better to have provisional than to not have it if the application says. And when I've seen it out in the world, it's either certified archivist or ability to become certified within a year, 2 years, 6 months, or so. There is a little bit of leeway there. So I guess it depends on where you're going, but like I said, it's better to know that you'll get there in 6 months, 8 months, than to just like, oops, no, I have to start from scratch and study for the exam. Thank you, everyone, and thank